One day, on a seemingly normal day, like every other day, I received probably the most difficult phone call of my life, not knowing it was about to change the trajectory of my life. I was working in the corporate world, living in Seattle, doing what I thought I was supposed to do. And it was my mom. And she said my brother had been killed in a car accident and died instantly and was gone. And I hadn't really experienced anything like that at that age. And so I flew to Alaska where he was living, and my family and I gathered, and we were walking into this room where his body was. And I had never seen a dead body, certainly not my brother. I couldn't even find the context to process through it. So I walk in, and the room was very heavy. It was Alaska in November. And his body was on the left side of the room. There were a bunch of chairs set up on the right side. And I went over by his body and touched his body and was shocked because I didn't realize how cold it would be or hard it would be. And so I went and sat down on one of the chairs. I sat there for a few minutes, very aware of how cold it was in the room, how heavy it was, listening to the sobbing of my family members and myself. And after a few minutes, I experienced what I can only describe as liquid love. Started at the top of my head and went all the way down through my entire body. I was completely in peace. I was warm. I felt a love that I had never felt. And I heard my brother say over my right shoulder, "I'm still here. I'm just not in there." And I knew his reference was to his body. My next question was, "Where are you?" And this is conversation going on in my head. "Where are you?" He said, "I'm just as here as I ever was. I just left the density of the body, and I'm at a rate of vibration that you can't interpret with your physical senses." These were not words I was familiar with, but I had never forgotten them. My very next question was, "What about heaven and hell and all that stuff?" He said, "Oh, it's not like that. There's only love here." And I knew that was truth. And then he receded. I was back in the room, but I was completely and totally in peace. And that peace never left me to this day. I went back to my seemingly normal life, and then I started having these experiences. I wanted to connect with my brother again. I didn't know how to do that. I was begging and wishing, "Just talk to me." And it was always something kind of peculiar. I was in an elevator one time going to my office, and my brother, who I always was experiencing over my right shoulder, said, "Ask that guy his name." I'm like, come on. I'm in an elevator, meeting this guy, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to ask his name. Ask the guy his name. So I'm like, okay, "Hi, I'm Sarah. What's your name?" And of course, his name was Tim, which was my brother's name. I would be in a restaurant and I would feel my brother's presence, and the waiter would come to the table and it would have my brother's eyes. I saw my brother and his name would be Tim. And so I had these very spontaneous experiences, but still a lot of questions. I do believe that my love for my brother is what allowed me to stay open to something that I couldn't explain or understand or really talk to anyone about. But it was that love to reconnect with the person that I have lost that opened my heart to going beyond something that might be weird or woo-woo to truth and to love. And so I've had so many people in my community, and several of them that are here. And I have found that it's things like losing a loved one, or an end of a relationship, or an end of a job, or your own potential diagnosis of something that sometimes sets you on this path to awakening to more and the more that's here. And that really was it for me.